Angela Merkel endured as others came and went. Now world's crisis manager steps down. The German Chancellor is preparing to step down later this year, having long ago cemented her position as one of the world's most successful political leaders. In her time in office, she has dealt with 5 UK prime ministers, 4 French presidents and 7 Italian prime ministers. When President-elect Joe Biden takes office on Wednesday, he'll be the 4th American commander-in-chief she's worked with. Yet despite her track record, Merkel, the leader of the world's 4th biggest economy, has spent much of her political career having to prove herself. Her counterparts have tried to overpower or even humiliate her. Vladimir Putin once brought a Labrador dog into his meeting with the Chancellor, who is famously afraid of dogs. Donald Trump told her she was stupid. Silvio Berlusconi once left her waiting for 15 minutes while he chatted on the phone. When she became the first woman to take Germany's top job in 2005, many deemed her too inexperienced and uncharismatic to last. Bild, Germany's most read newspaper, marked the occasion with a front-page photo and a headline reading, "Miss Germany." Even within her own party, she was referred to as das Mädchen, German for the girl.
But while other leaders have come and gone over the intervening years, Merkel has endured, enjoying an unparalleled popularity. Das Mädchen became nicknamed Die Mutti, a mother figure and symbol of stability. Political scientist Joyce Musheben said Merkel was seen as a temporary leader when she first rose through the ranks of the Christian Democratic Union Party. Many of her male rivals had been mired in scandal, and there was a feeling that she was just going to be holding that place until they could find a real CDU man to replace her, Musheben said. They completely underestimated her learning ability. Merkel ended up leading the party for 18 years, stepping down in late 2018. It soon became clear just how difficult it will be to replace her. Merkel's hand-picked successor Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer lasted just over a year, struggling to keep the regional fractions of the party in line. This weekend, the party picked Armin Laschet as her successor. Laschet, a longtime Merkel ally currently serving as the minister-president of the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia, won with 52.79%, beating Friedrich Merz, a corporate lawyer, who obtained 47.21%. Laschet will lead the party into the federal election in September. His election was a clear vote in favor of the continuation of Merkel's moderate politics. Musheben, a Merkel biographer and professor of comparative politics and gender studies at the University of Missouri St. Louis, said the key to Merkel's success lay in the unique mix of her background and her abilities. Her experience of growing up as a pastor's daughter in communist East Germany has deeply influenced her political decision-making, and as a former scientist with a doctorate in quantum chemistry, she often approaches problems in the same way as complex calculations, Musheben said. When her political mentor Helmut Kohl became tangled in a corruption scandal in 1999, she publicly denounced him and called for him to go, despite having been his longtime protege. People saw her as a person of integrity, someone who didn't just grab the mic and shoot off her mouth, but someone who waited until she really had something to say, Musheben added. As well as being the first woman to become chancellor, Merkel was also the first politician from the former East Germany to take the post following the fall of the Berlin Wall. Merkel referenced this part of her background recently, when pushing for more coronavirus restrictions, admitting that as someone who sees the freedom to travel as a hard-won right, she was uneasy about the new rules, but explained why they were necessary. Carina Horst, senior fellow and deputy director at the German Marshall Fund in Brussels, said Merkel has been a new type of leader. She exudes empathy, stability, and reliability, Horst said. That's unique, and it has redefined, in some ways, what people are looking for in a leader, because it's so opposed to any of the sort of male stereotypes that we had. The world's crisis manager, even her staunchest critics admit that Merkel has special powers when it comes to handling crises, having seen Germany through the global financial crisis, the Eurozone debt crisis, and the immigration crisis. With months to go before she steps down, she remains at the forefront of the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. She has often acted as the voice of reason, and as a maker of deals. Political scientists describe her as calm, pragmatic, and diplomatic. Some might even add boring to the mix. There's nothing glamorous about her, said Gabrielle Abels, a professor of comparative politics at the University of Tübingen, Germany. She is very matter-of-fact, very rational, and people would never think of her as being corrupt. Abel said Merkel embodies what most Germans look for in a leader. While we sometimes look at other countries which have more of the charismatic leaders, we don't want these for ourselves. We've had enough of that in history. Horst said Merkel's particular strength in recent years has been in building consensus and leading from the middle. It's kind of funny that women are seen as, oh, she's so emotional, but actually, it has been the men who are highly emotional, whether it's Boris Johnson or President Trump, while Chancellor Merkel has been diplomatic and determined not just to forge ahead but to get everybody around the ideas she said. Merkel's determination to find an agreement has paid off during some of the biggest crises of the past decade. She was able to broker a deal between the Eurozone and Greece, and convinced Russia and Ukraine's top officials to talk to one another. As a former scientist and environmental minister, she also put climate center from the beginning of her leadership. She presided over the very first UN climate conference in Berlin and convinced the other leaders of G8 to accept the need to cut greenhouse gas emissions. She even got George Bush to admit that there was a climate change problem. She was a great mediator, Mushibin said. But the leading by consensus hasn't always worked. Late last year, she struggled to convince the leaders of Germany's federal states to implement stricter nationwide coronavirus restrictions when infection levels began to rise. And as the rotating president of the Council of the European Union in the past 6 months, she has struggled to find a consensus with Hungary and Poland over their adherence to the EU's rule of law. We can manage this. There were also times when Merkel didn't go looking for a compromise, most notably in 2015 when she welcomed refugees fleeing conflicts in Syria and elsewhere.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe